Well, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Is it good for you?
Yes.
Is it good for you? Yes. When you awakened this morning, did you declare, "Oh God, it's morning"? Or did you announce, "Thank you, God, it's morning, and here I am. Here I am. Ready for another magnificent day of adventure." Yes, there are those moments in my own life when I could have enjoyed a bit more of the shut-eye. And the truth is, I love early morning. It's so fresh and so new. Each day, a brand new, as Merriman and Morrissey says, baby day. It's a brand new baby day. And just like a baby, it's fresh and new and ready to move into. Hasn't happened yet, so it's new, it's fresh. Available to love and to learn into. So today we celebrate the Memorial Day, honoring those who are the heroes in our lives, those who have died. And today I not only honor the fallen soldiers, but also those family members who have made their transitions. So let's take a few moments to remember them. Remembering has the ability to inspire us. So let's take a moment to remember those in our own families who have moved forward. So, I know that there is an intelligence of spirit that knows how to serve us and how to serve life up for us. The theme for May this year is Inspiration Through Intelligence. And my title, Inspiration, was chosen a while ago. And I left it open. I thought, what in the world will be the words of today? Because we don't know where life brings us. We think we know. We hope we know. But oh my God, we don't know. So I start with, what is inspiration? What is that? What is that? Inspiration is a divine influence, or it's an action on a person believed to qualify him or her to receive and communicate sacred revelation. And I particularly like this definition: the action or power of moving the intellect or the emotions. Inspiration. And then I thought, well, what is intellect? I think I know. But I looked it up. And it said the power of knowing and distinguishing from the power to feel and to will, which are the emotions. The power of knowing is the intellect. Science of Mind tells us, and I quote, regarding the will, our will. Will means decision coming into execution. The will is to determine by an act of choice. Volition, choice, and will must be attributes of spirit. They mean practically the same thing. Now pay attention, students. This is where it gets kind of juicy. We must be careful, however, not to think of these qualities of spirit in terms of human or limited thought. When we choose when we choose. We make a selection, which means there are two or more things to choose from. But when Spirit chooses, it simply announces. To announce means to give notice of the presence of. So when Spirit announces, it is. It's not out there coming at us, a wish for. It announces, here it is. I love a little child when they walk in many times. They'll say, look who's here. They announce. Oh, to be like children more of the time. Ernest goes on to tell us the Spirit does not have the will to make things happen. Things happen because it is the will of the Spirit that they should be. You getting the juice? This will then is simply the execution of a purpose. And since Spirit is absolute, which is perfect, which is pure, there can be nothing to deny its will. Choice, volition, and will are necessary and real attributes of self-existent power. For without them, there could be no channel through which the ideas of God could be expressed. In humans, these qualities, volition, choice, and will, are limited. But in God, they are limitless, according to Ernest Holmes. So I ask you, are you offering up ideas that are your highest and most authentic, so that Spirit announces those into your experience? Take a moment to turn within and ask yourself, what sacred revelation lies within me? Be here, be present, open to listen. What is it that I have been called to be, to do, or to say? And then ask yourself, am I able to ask for that which is needed for Spirit to announce itself through me? I have two stories to share this morning that came to me as true. The first story goes like this. Many years ago, Al Capone virtually owned Chicago. Capone wasn't famous for anything heroic. He was notorious for enmeshing the Windy City in everything from bootlicking booze and prostitution to murder. Capone had a lawyer nicknamed Easy Eddie. He was Capone's lawyer for a good reason. Eddie was very good. In fact, Eddie's skill at legal maneuvering kept Big Al out of jail for a long time. To show his appreciation, Capone paid him very well. Not only was the money big, but Eddie got special dividends as well. For instance, he and his family occupied a fenced-in mansion with live-in help and all of the conveniences of that day. The estate was so large that it filled an entire Chicago city block. Eddie lived the high life of the Chicago mob and gave little consideration to the atrocity that went on around him. Eddie did have one soft spot, however. He had a son that he loved dearly. Eddie saw to it that his young son had clothes, cars, and a good education. Nothing was withheld. Money was no object. And despite his involvement with organized crime, Eddie even tried to teach him right from wrong. Imagine that. There is a God. Eddie wanted his son to be a better man than he was. Yet, with all his wealth and influence, there were two things he couldn't get his son. He couldn't pass on a good name or a good example. One day, Easy Eddie reached a difficult decision. Easy Eddie wanted to rectify wrongs he had done. He decided he would go to the authorities and tell the truth about Al Scarface Capone, clean up his tarnished name, and offer his son some semblance of integrity. To do this, he would have to testify against the mob, and he knew that the cost would be great. So he testified. Within the year, Easy Eddie's life in a blaze of gunfire ended on a lonely Chicago street. But in his eyes, he had given his son the greatest gift he had to offer, at the greatest price he could ever pay. Police removed from his pockets a rosary, a crucifix, a religious medallion, and a poem clipped from a magazine. The poem said, "The clock of life is wound but once, and no man has the power to tell just when the hands will stop, at late or early hour. Now is the only time you own. Live, love, toil with a will. Place no faith in time, for the clock may soon be still." Story number 2. You break? World War II produced many heroes. One such man was Lieutenant Commander Butch O'Hare. He was a fighter pilot assigned to the aircraft carrier Lexington in the South Pacific. Now one day his entire squadron was sent on a mission. After he was airborne, he looked at his fuel gauge and realized that someone had forgotten to top off his fuel tank. He would not have enough fuel to complete his mission and get back to his ship. His flight leader told him to return to the carrier, and reluctantly, he dropped out of formation and headed back to the fleet. As he was returning to the mothership, Star Wars, the mothership, he saw something that turned his blood cold. A squadron of Japanese aircraft was speeding its way toward the American fleet. The American fighters were gone on a sortie, and the fleet was all but defenseless. He couldn't reach his squadron and bring them back in time to save the fleet, nor could he warn the fleet of the approaching danger. There was only one thing to do. He must somehow divert from the fleet all of those planes. So laying aside all thoughts of personal safety, he dove into the formation of Japanese planes. Wing-mounted .50 calibers blazed as he charged in, attacking one surprised enemy plane and then another. Butch wove in and out of the now broken formation and fired at as many planes as possible until his ammunition was finally spent. Undaunted, he continued the assault. He dove at the planes, trying to clip a wing or a tail in hopes of damaging as many enemy planes as possible, rendering them unfit to fly. Finally, the exasperated Japanese squadron took off in another direction. Deeply relieved, Butch O'Hare and his tattered fighter limped back to the carrier. Upon arrival, he reported in and related the events surrounding his return. The film from the gun camera mounted on his plane told the tale. It showed the extent of Butch's daring attempt to protect his fleet. He had, in fact, destroyed 5 enemy aircraft. This took place on February 20, 1942, and for that action, Butch became the Navy's first ace of World War II and the first naval aviator to win the Medal of Honor. A year later, Butch was killed in an aerial combat at the age of 29. His hometown would not allow the memory to fade, and today O'Hare Airport in Chicago is named in tribute to the courage of this great man. So the next time you find yourself at O'Hare International, give some thought to visiting Butch's memorial. It displays his statue and his Medal of Honor, located in between Terminals 1 and 2. So what do these two stories have to do with each other? Butch O'Hare was Fast Eddie's son. Pretty cool, huh? We never know, do we, where life will take us. Deepak Chopra tells us, everyone is here because he or she has a place to fill. And every piece must fit perfectly into the big jigsaw puzzle. You know, we are surrounded by a lot of heroes, some we haven't even talked to yet. But here we all are. We've all done and accomplished so much for our own lives. This morning you are invited to delve deeper into your own consciousness, to the recognition of that which has been, is now, and forever shall be the real you. That real you. Today that someone you already know is housing the spiritual nature of truth and wisdom, and is ready to show itself in a greater way. Are you ready? My earliest memory of a hero was a cartoon character, Mighty Mouse. Anyone remember this little rodent? You missed your cue. Perfect, perfect. So he was always ready and willing to assist those who needed his help, didn't he? And he did it in full hero attire. On his shirt, a large M for Mighty Mouse. He had a cape around his, and he knew how to use it. And that heroes needed to be able to what? Fly. To fly in style. So as Mighty Mouse took off in flight, he would sing, "Here I come to save the day." And it's still my baseline of what a hero is. Someone that's come to save the day. And so as I have traveled my spiritual path, I am grateful for those images. Those early images, however funny or non-relevant. They may seem unimportant, but upon review, I realized that those silly songs and those cartoon images from my childhood had and still have a life in me, and maybe in you as well. And those to me are life-affirming. I miss those kinds of cartoons. I miss that lively, pure sense of fun. Not a whole lot of real deep meaning, except that, yeah, this was a hero that could come through who was mighty. And that recognition of what is mighty in us is what is important. That inner spirit that is ever ready to serve us, to support us, to save our day, so to speak. But we must first recognize it. And second, we must know it is for us. It is for us. People ask me about my grandnephew. Why did God take my grandnephew? He was so young. And I said, God didn't take my grandnephew. My grandnephew's life was complete. His journey, this hero's journey, was complete. Will I miss him? Will we miss him? Yes. But what I must know, and I do know at a very deep level, is that he's at peace. He's at peace. Because there's a third part of this inner spirit recognition. And he did this. Trust the inner voice of wisdom, our God self. God as us. And do what is your best and highest good. No matter what that appearance was for him. I'm not encouraging you to go do that, to go die like today, but you must. But what I'm saying is live now. Be here present now. Be your hero of your life right now. For me to see the God as you, and for you to recognize the God as me, is to live in the Namaste principle more of the time. The most important things ever said to us are said by our inner selves. The most important things are said by your inner self. You and I are our own heroes. Each of us has within us the absolute authority to be the one in action, to be the mighty force, outlet in our lives. And this teaching gives us the tools. Science of Mind has given so many tools in my life that activate my leap into life. We must first take action and take the leap of faith. Mighty Mouse took a leap of faith. Martin Luther King said, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. We must take the first step. We must find our voice toward our own personal hero. Now, maybe the inner voice and wisdom says, here I come to save the day, or maybe not. But listen. Listen. Hear what you're telling yourself. Look inside for the right affirmation. Ernest Holmes tells us we stand at the point of limitless potentiality and opportunity. That opportunity is right here today. That we see and grasp it, recognize it as us, know that we exist in limitless opportunities which are forever seeking expression through us. Through us. Please affirm with me. I exist in limitless opportunities, and I am listening. That's important. We can spout it, we can spew it, but if we're not listening to it, and likewise believing it, something else shows up. What we're really believing shows up. So, pass through 45 or 50 of these pages. Because the truth is we each make a difference. We do. And who we are and how we do influences the lives of those around us. Whether we know it or not. Whether we see it or not. Fast Eddie didn't get to see his son become and be recognized. What it takes is coming true to the inner wisdom, to that place of absolute trust and to love. This is the true hero. This is your true hero. That within you. So whether your childhood included Mickey Mouse, Superman, Superwoman, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, John Wayne, Al Capone, Easy Eddie, or Rob Loomis. Hey, remember, we are our own heroes. Within is the wisdom, the power, and the courage to rise to our greatness. Keep the door of love open. Recognize the ever-abundant, healing nature of spirit. Keep that door open. Keep that door open. Let's close with an affirmation. Here I am.
Here I am.
As spirit.
As spirit.
To save the day.
To save the day.
In my unique way.
In my unique way.
So it is.
And so it is.